Hey there. I was wondering if you were going to mention the trans family discussion.
Yeah.
Are we ready to go? Whew. I guess we are. Good morning. My name is Pat Malarkey, and it is my privilege to serve as your worship associate this morning. For visual accessibility, I'm a tallish woman with short brown hair that is going gray. I'm wearing black pants, a black sweater, and a hot pink turtleneck, and I wear glasses. On behalf of the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, welcome to our hybrid service. If you are new to First U and are here in the sanctuary, I invite you to fill out a connection card. They're in the seat backs, and some of them are at the welcome table and in the back. If you are online, in the chat, there should be a link that will take you to an e-version of the connection card. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a welcoming congregation. No matter who you are, no matter where you're coming from, no matter where you're going to, you are welcome here in this sacred space. In that spirit, let's welcome those attending online into this space by turning to the camera up there on the left and waving hello. And in that same spirit of welcome, please greet those around you. And now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
Thank you, Tracy. I think there's medicine in that music, and so I'd like for us to just sit with it for just a second longer. So I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. For visual accessibility, I'm 6 feet tall, gray hair, not going grayish, I'm going to say gray hair, glasses, black minister's robe, and a green stole. You may notice I have a Band-Aid somewhere here. Yeah, I nicked myself shaving this morning. I need a sermon on pay attention. So that's one of the reasons that I'm here with you today. So these opening words are from one of my favorite writers, Mark Nepo. It's from a book of short readings. This particular collection is called A Book of Awakenings, I think. But he has a recent book that you might be interested in. It's called The Fifth Season, Creativity in Later Years. I think I'm old enough to begin to read that book. So let this serve us as a call to worship this morning. Live slow enough to realize there is only the beginning of time. Follow anything in its act of being. A snowflake falling, ice melting, and a loved one waking. And we are ushered into the ongoing moment of the beginning, the quiet instant from which each breath starts. What makes this moment so crucial is that it continually releases the freshness of living. The key to finding this moment and all its freshness again and again is in slowing down. But if you should feel stalled, numb, or exhausted from the trials of your life, simply slow your thoughts to the pace of cracks widening. Slow your heart to the pace of the earth soaking up rain. And wait for the freshness of the beginning to greet you. So as we begin our time of worship this morning, take a moment to live slow enough to appreciate this moment, this particular moment of beginning. Together, let us greet the freshness of this beginning as we gather together in worship.
This chalice lighting was written by Reverend Michelle Collins, who formerly served here as Wilmington's first Unitarian. It's entitled "To Practice the Revolutionary Act of Noticing." Come, awaken your senses to this moment where we practice the revolutionary act of noticing, the breath that sustains us, the beauty hiding in ordinary things, the small things that keep hope alive. Come, let us train our attention on that which leads us home. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 94, "What is This Life?" And Tracy will accompany us on the piano. And please remain standing while we affirm the mission of this church. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
Let's join now in a time of prayerful meditation, being in the presence of each other, being in the presence of presence itself, allowing our hearts to open and our spirits to hold all that is with compassion and care. We need to lift up for a moment that many of us are afraid or angry or anxious given the events that took place yesterday in Iran and throughout the Middle East. The reasons for this war of choice have never been made absolutely clear. We know this, however, that violence serves only to create more violence, war, and generational hatred. In my own heart, I feel the heaviness of those estimated 100 young people who were killed by the bombing. Young people who, by circumstance, lost their lives abruptly, cruelly, and prematurely. I think about the families of those young people, the hopes that they had for their children, the aspirations that they dared to long for. This is part of the cruelty of war, and we all hold, one way or another, some sense of responsibility. May we find ways in our life to create again and again the conditions for peace, for understanding, and for the peaceful resolution of conflict. The cost of war is heavy on the collective human heart. The cost of war is heavy on the cost on the human spirit. Events like this remind us of how important it is that we continue to carry a flame of hope and peace and to nurture its light. In a moment, I will light a candle, and as I do, I invite each of us to take a brief moment of silence for all who've lost their lives or whose lives are placed in jeopardy by these recent events. As we embrace now a time of shared silence, let's attend to our hearts in whatever personal, closer concerns that we might be holding for those that we love and care about in this congregation or in our own lives. Let's join now in a time of shared silence. There's a love that connects us. There's a love that connects us with all that is. May we embody that love. Amen. Let's take a brief time now to share with one another, if you choose to do so, any particular concern that you might have for someone you know, someone in this congregation or a friend of yours that you would like to hold up in this room so that we can hold in our own heart your particular concern as well. So let's pause first to think about what it is that we're holding in our heart, who it is that we're holding in our heart. So you may speak aloud in this room the names of those that care about, or if you're joining us online, you may write their names in the chat.
I'm on a page for the transgender people in Kansas that find taking driver's license. I feel that's a violation of human rights.
Yes, so transgender people in Kansas who recently lost some of their human rights and their license. Other kinds of concerns you might have in this section. Okay, a friend, Jen, whose father died. In this section. I missed the first part of what you said. Jean, who recently lost her husband. Okay. Izzy and his family. Here. Okay, nephew who's in Dubai right now. And here. Donna and her family as she transitions from this life and is now in hospice care. Son Izzy. Right. I hope Helen Foss, who was going to join us today, is at least watching. Send her some love and care as she's just recuperating at home. Anyone else? Okay. May all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day. John Claney, who's in our AV booth, helps prepare our messages on our sign out here on Route 202. This week, I've wondered when we've projected that message, pay attention, whether there were drivers that were actually paying attention. So, my first association to the phrase pay attention is to those teachers I recall in middle school who would try to win back the class's attention when it obviously seemed to have drifted. Sometimes the teacher realized that their algebra lesson, for example, didn't quite help us learn. So they would resolutely restart the lesson and say, "This time, pay attention," as if it were all our fault. You know as well as I that the simple incantation of these words, pay attention, didn't necessarily work then, nor does it now. Attention has become more and more a rare commodity, and the competition for our attention is manifold. There are so many things within us and among us that conspire to distract and dissuade us from our capacities to pay attention. Mary Oliver writes that attention is the beginning of devotion. That's worth repeating after me. Attention is the beginning of devotion. And let's see how we make sense of that sentence by the end of these reflections this morning. We learn various ways to cultivate our attention: mindfulness or meditation practice, putting aside our smartphone for a period of time, walking within nature, practicing just noticing, as the wonderful reading that you did, Pat, reminds us. And before we know it, in spite of our best attempts, we may be caught up or captivated by scrolling through life or sleepwalking through our actual experiences. It has become harder in a culture that seems hell-bent on robbing our attention. In a time when there is so much to distract us, the simple incantation, again, pay attention, can only get us so far before we lost that attention. We get absorbed or captivated by distraction. About 6 years ago, I actually devoted myself to being a guest teacher of a program focusing on developing inner strength for teens and teaching mindfulness practices to a group of juniors in high school, just one afternoon a week over a period of about 12 weeks. I was assigned to the Masterman School, an intentionally multicultural, quote, magnet school, ranked the 8th best high school in the nation, located in the Spring Garden neighborhood of Philadelphia. So I mention all of this so that you can imagine the juniors in this high school are facing not only their current academic pressures, particularly in that school, they are also experiencing, obviously, the typical pressures of being an adolescent. But these juniors in high school also had the added pressures of approaching decisions about their future, namely for this group of students, where to go to college, what to major in, and what they wanted to do when they grew up. And sometimes their questions to them did not always seem like their own questions, but questions that were impressed or they were pressured into considering. The academic demands and the high expectation of this particular school added to the stresses that each student felt. In the class, I facilitated discussions on the stresses that they felt in their lives, the personal and social sources of those stresses, and how to best navigate this time in their lives. rather than be immobilized by them, especially since their economic and family situations did not always mean that they had all of the same level of support at home. The classroom, that class, became that kind of support for them. A significant focus of our class was teaching various mindfulness meditation practices. And over time, the students were also invited to lead their classmates through one of the mindfulness practices that they particularly liked and had learned in the class. Now, today, if I were teaching this course to juniors in high school, I recognize that this capacity to practice mindfulness and to cultivate the capacity to pay attention has become much more challenging and has far more reaching implication in their lives, the lives of these young people, and even children these days. In fact, all of us. I feel that we are responsible, whatever our life or life situation, whatever our age, in addressing some of the dire impact that the, quote, attention economy has on us. We have all heard about some of the research on our dwindling capacity for attention, which I suspect many of you may recall, that data such as the average American college student tends to switch tasks every 65 seconds. The average adult working in an office stays on one task for 3 minutes. I didn't realize it was that long. Obviously, another source of our distracted attention is the prevalence and dependence many of us have on our smartphone. It has been determined that the average amount of time spent daily on a phone, not counting talking on the phone, has increased in recent years, reaching a total of 4 hours and 30 minutes. Today, there are more upfront discussions among not just educators and psychologists and communities on the impact that this attention economy has on our everyday lives. Indeed, I believe that our capacities to pay attention or not has a cost on us, our relationships, our lives, and our spirituality. I discovered that the Center for Humane Technology is providing courses to help adolescents and young adults and others recognize the impact that the attention economy has on them. I reviewed this curriculum and was both impressed and astonished. We are a long way from the time when the incantation, pay attention, by a teacher or even our own inner voice is enough to address the complexity and the dimensions of this issue. In fact, there are so many forces that are working against our capacities to pay attention, that are manipulating our attention for purposes that serve the profits of companies and undermine our own capacities in ways that impact everyday life and our potential future. The Center for Humane Technology, in its curriculum, outlines this problem in this way to students. And I quote, "The seemingly free social media products we use every day help us to stay connected, learn new things, and find information." It's the upside, right? But they also analyze our actions and data we share, using what they learn about us to trick us into paying attention to them more than we want. They sell that attention and ultimately changes in what we think and how we behave to advertisers. These social media products are caught in a race to capture our attention in order to make money. I'm struck by how blunt and comprehensive this opening statement to this curriculum is. Moreover, I'm struck by how there is an urge for broader responsibility and awareness for confronting some of the social and economic forces that make this more than a personal or individual issue and orient us more towards this as something that we can all focus on for the sake of the common good. The curriculum includes experiences from 18 and 20-year-olds and others and younger, and asks the students to compare their own experiences to these. So let me share a few of those. One young woman, Anuja, in Fresno, California, shared, I constantly refreshed my likes as they came in, spent hours reading and replying to comments and taking in other people's posts. I became obsessed with living what social media promotes as a worthwhile and perfect life. A young man, Sam, age 18, from New York City, shared, my morning time ritual became an afternoon ritual to a night ritual to an all-day ritual where I would habitually check my phone every hour, eagerly waiting for the next notification to come in. Morgan, a 14-year-old, shares this experience, which is representative of what much of the research has discovered. Morgan writes, I really struggled when I looked in the mirror after joining social media. I'm too fat, or I have ugly features, or my neck is too long, or my hair doesn't frame my face correctly. I overthought every word that I spoke for the fear of being unliked by someone. It was always something, and it still comes back every once in a while. I also have seriously struggled with depression and anxiety that I never had before social media. The attention economy has indeed impacted billions of lives in some of these ways that these young people's voices represent. Do you know others in your life who have been impacted in these ways? So I want us to experience this as an issue of the common good that all of us can share, not just those who are most impacted. Our task is to understand that this is not a personal problem requiring only personal solutions. Instead, as the curriculum points out, these patterns are the results of mechanisms like algorithms that optimize for engagement. The unquestioned assumption of technology companies is that, quote, if people are engaging with our product, it must be helping them live better lives. This needs to be countered by the growing recognition that what has been created is a system that has harmed our society in countless ways. I want to reiterate there is some good to the social media as well, but I'm looking at this particular side of it with you now. Some of this analysis of these systemic forces from the Center for Humane Technology include, and I'm going to quote, skewing our sense of the world. Algorithms promote misinformation, conspiracies, and quote unquote fake news. Undermining our relationships. A focus on short digital communication results in less empathy, more confusion, and misinterpretation. Disrupting attention and cognition. Constantly checking our phones leads to loss of crucial abilities, including memory and focus. Degrading physical and mental health. Social media use has been shown to contribute to stress, loneliness, addiction, and increased risky health behaviors. Polarizing our politics and elections. Political influence sold to the highest bidder leads to widespread propaganda, distorted dialogue, and voter suppression. Amplifying systemic oppression. Technology built by a small number of privileged engineers often amplifies some of the ways in which pressures are put on others. Challenges for young people. Research shows that harms from developmental delays to increased risk of self-harm are particularly prevalent among young people. Center for Humane Technology is providing courses to help adolescents and others recognize the impact that the attention economy has on them. They state, the seemingly free social media products we use every day help us to stay connected and learn new things. But these social media products are also caught in a race to capture our attention in order to make money. I believe it's not enough for us to just wring our hands and say, ain't it awful? Well, let's just do that just for the practice so we get it out of our system. Ain't it awful? Tim Wu, the author of The Attention Merchants on Your Undivided Attention, adds to my sense that this is a concern for the common good. He writes, we are in a time where we've sort of accepted the unrestricted, unregulated mining of human consciousness, the harvesting of human attention. We are the resource, and I think it takes its toll. I believe we have to come to understand that these systematic forces of the attention economy require an ethical response from us, particularly since it is the tending of the human soul and the cultivating of a social atmosphere to develop our human possibilities and potentialities that are for us, as Unitarian Universalists, worth our devoted action within our congregation and our wider world. I found that Johann Hari's book, Stolen Focus, builds upon our understanding that there is a cost to our capacity to pay attention. There is a cost to our not paying attention. Hari lays out this cost in this way. When you are unable to pay attention, you can't achieve the things you want to achieve. You want to read a book, but you're pulled away by the pings and paranoias of social media. You want to spend a few uninterrupted hours with your child, but you keep anxiously checking your email to see if your boss is emailing you. Your life dissolves instead to a blur of social media posts that only make you feel envious or anxious. Through no fault of your own, there never seems to be enough stillness, enough cool, clear space for you to stop and think. Consequently, this attention crisis is beyond just a personal one. It is a social one too. And it is a spiritual crisis as well. It impacts our capacities to be present to one another, to develop empathy, and to share compassion. Hari goes on to spell out what we need to confront in this society as well. We all know the big issues of climate crisis, for example. And unlike previous generations, we are mostly not rising to solve our biggest challenges together. Why? Part of the reason, he says, is that when intention breaks down, problem solving breaks down. Solving big problems requires the sustained focus of many people over many years. And that sustained attention is what seems to be eroding in many corners of our society. I just found this another lens in which to begin to interpret some of what we are experiencing in our culture these days. Hari points out that democracy requires the ability of a population to pay attention long enough to identify real problems, to distinguish them from fantasies, and to come up with solutions and hold their leaders accountable if they fail to deliver them. If we lose that, we lose our ability to have a fully functioning society. People who can't focus will be more drawn to simplistic authoritarian solutions and less likely to see clearly when these authoritarian solutions fail. And as I said, I think this attention crisis is a spiritual crisis as well, since it impacts our capacities to be present to one another, to develop empathy, and to share compassion. The Zen teacher Bernie Glasser, who was abbot of Zen monasteries in New York City and Los Angeles, gives this perspective on attention. When we say attention, what do we mean? When we really listen, when we really pay attention to the sounds of joy and suffering in the universe, then we are not separate from them. We become them. Because in reality, we are not separate from those who suffer. We are them. They are us. It is our suffering and it is our joy. When we don't listen, we are shutting ourselves off, not from others, but also, not just from others, but also from ourselves. Listening means seeing the ingredients in front of us. Everything we see and hear is an ingredient of ourselves. If we can listen not just with our hearts, but with our eyes, our noses, our mouths, and every pore of our bodies, then we not only see all the ingredients in front of us, but we are those ingredients. And once we listen, we have to act. The functioning that comes out of listening, out of attention, is compassionate action. If we don't listen, we can't act with compassion. So it's teaching from Bernie Glassman. Now, remember, I had us repeat that sentence from Mary Oliver, attention is the beginning of devotion. Just say yes, you remember that, right? You were paying attention. So there is a backstory to Mary Oliver's statement. You see, Mary Oliver grew up in Ohio in a household of people whose behavior, she says, she did not understand. She makes little mention of her mother and reveals her father to be a brooding, loveless force, abusive and neglectful. In her essay, Staying Alive, she writes that one day he took her to ice skating and then forgot her and went home. Hours later, someone found her wandering alone across the ice and took her to the home of a kind young woman who phoned Oliver's parents to say where she was. Her father eventually went back to get her. He had simply, he said, forgotten that I existed. Oliver does not belabor her early biography in her writing. Only a handful of her poems and essays obliquely reference her childhood pain. But in a rare interview, she remarked that hers was a dark and broken house. Oliver writes instead about the paths of her escape, instead about the paths of her escape and salvation, books and nature. She writes, I saved my own life by finding a place that wasn't in that house. She describes how she stuffed her knapsack with Emerson or Whitman and Hawthorne as companions and co-conspirators against the dull studies of school and the hardness of home. Sometimes she skipped school to wander with Whitman, quote, down by the creek or in the wide pastures I could still find on the other side of the deep woods. I spent my time with my friend, my brother, my uncle, my best teacher, with nature. I stood willingly and gladly in the characters of everything, other people, trees, and clouds. And this is what I learned, that the world's otherness is an antidote to confusion, that standing within this otherness, the beauty and the mystery of the world out in the fields or deep inside books can redignify the worst stung heart. Real attention, Oliver concludes, needs empathy. Attention without feeling is just a report. Attention is the beginning of devotion. So let's take a moment now as we conclude these reflections to think about where do we want to put our attention this week? What's calling for our attention? If attention is a path of devotion, what do we want to devote our attention to? this week. It may be a person, it may be a project, maybe a particular issue or concern. But think about your attention as an act of devotion, and you allow yourself to feel led and directed to devote your attention in particular ways. My friend Daniel Siegel, written a lot of books, says, where our attention goes, neurofirings or energy flows. So let's think about where our attention goes. Amen.
Three inches by 6 inches. That's how big my Samsung S22 is. Some smartphones are bigger, some are smaller. Regardless of their dimensions, they are all attention hogs. It's been a while since I've gone to my office in McLean, Virginia. But the last time I was there, I noticed one of our vice presidents, a highly intelligent, capable fellow, had a black eye. I asked him what had happened, and he sheepishly admitted that he'd been looking at his phone and walked face first into one of the cement pillars in our office building. For your safety, please remain stationary while using your smartphone to contribute to First U. There are also other ways you can contribute, and they will be shown on the screen during the offertory. And now please join me in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. We are entering the final week of our pledge drive for the 2026-2027 church year. Our pledge drive theme and song this year is Take Up the Song, Carry It On. We seek to claim and build upon our current strengths as we also carry on the best of who we are into the next church year. Our base goal is $598,000, and as of last Tuesday, we have pledges amounting to $347,000, or 62% of our base goal. If you have already made your pledge, thank you. If you haven't, please do so soon and by March 8th so that we can make informed plans for our 2026-2027 budget. Please remember to make your pledge by using the links sent out in the e-newsletter or stopping by the stewardship table in the parish hall today to fill out your pledge card. And now, let's hear from Jackie Lukowski.
Take up the song, carry it on. Hi there, my name's Jackie Lukowski, and I've been a member of First Unitarian since 2013. In my time here, I have been very active, including getting the yoga group that meets on Monday nights back up and running after a hiatus of several years, serving on the CYRE team, which stands for Children and Youth Religious Exploration, serving on the board and the nominating committee most recently, singing in a women's trio, as well as performing some songs on vocals and guitar. And most recently, I've been renting space at the church for sewing activities. So I've been offering classes and a summer camp for kids to really dive into the world of fashion. And it's a wonderful experience, culminating with a fashion show on the Friday evening that we have there in the sanctuary. Um, I say all of this because your time and talent matters just as much as your financial contributions. Finding that niche opportunity that speaks to you is so important. And I really encourage you to fill out that time and talents survey that is part of the church's e-newsletter. And that helps the leadership team to identify individuals for different committees and groups, just ways to get you connected into this wonderful community. Speaking of financial contributions, I want to encourage you that no matter what your financial circumstances are, your contributions do matter and are greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, do be sure to fill out the pledge card. I believe there's some in the back of the sanctuary there in Parish Hall. You can fill out by hand, or I think there might also be a way to do that online as well. Thank you so much for your time and your dedication to the work of this church community. Music ring, take up the song, let your life sing.
This reading was also written by First Unitarian's former Assistant Minister, Reverend Michelle Collins. It's entitled, Choose Carefully. The flame goes out. 1,000 things now await for your attention. Choose carefully what receives your gaze, your time, your wonder. For what we tend to, is what we become.
So a few quick announcements. If you're considering joining First Unitarian Church as a new member, please find me or someone at the welcome table. Our next welcoming of new members is on Sunday, March 15th during the worship service. There's an added bonus if you sign up as a new member then. You get to actually vote in the congregational meeting for the new minister. So please speak to me soon or to Marilyn Height as well. Today, following the service, as many of you may already know, we will continue our focus on authentic lives, authentic selves, I should say. We've had an exhibit of trans, non-binary, and gender fluid individuals in our parish hall sometime this week. It's still there. What's wonderful about the exhibit is it features the lives and the stories of real people and their families. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, please do. At 12 o'clock today, we will have a panel on this very same theme that will include some members of our congregation and others, and that will be here at 12 o'clock in the sanctuary. Did I get that right, Linda? Okay. So the closing words for today are, Mary Oliver writes that attention is the beginning of devotion. May we be devoted to knowing the suffering, the basic humanity of another. May we be devoted to the safety and the wholeness of one another. May our attention be the root of the love and the care and the fighting for one another that we take up as we lift up our shared humanity this day and every day. Our closing song is our theme for this year's stewardship campaign. Take up the song, carry it on. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing the song together.